Have you ever wondered how your INFJ mind functions and perhaps why you think so differently than other personality types? If that thought has ever crossed your mind, then make sure you stick around for today's show because I'm going to be sharing 5 key points about the way your INFJ mind works, as well as the last point, which will tell you why you sometimes feel that you think so differently than other personality types. So make sure you stay tuned. We're going to get right to that. Before we jump into how your mind works, I want to let you know about a free gift I have for you. I just put together an INFJ personality guide because I really appreciated understanding how I worked exactly. It helped me to explain myself to others and to realize that I'm not broken, I'm just different. In the personality guide, you'll find out your greatest strengths, your weaknesses, how to set appropriate boundaries with others, why you're able to pick up on others' emotions, why you're sometimes sensitive to criticism, and you'll figure out ways to take more action on your creative ideas and much more. So make sure you check this out. And you can actually grab a copy of this personality guide right now by texting the word INFJ to the number 444999. So again, text INFJ to 444999, and it'll just ask you to send in your email address. And once you've sent in your email address via text, it will send the personality guide right to your inbox and you'll be able to check it out. So make sure you grab this free guide while it's still available. So how does introverted intuition work? Well, it's a subconscious process. So unlike most thought processes that other personality types use, yours is happening where you can't readily monitor it so much. So you're taking in information like every other type through your 5 senses. Like, for instance, you might notice the specific facial expressions of another person and their eye movements and the intonation of your voice. And your mind is putting all this together like a puzzle where you can't necessarily pick up on it. But then all of a sudden, it gives you this picture, this idea, this insight that pops to mind, and you know why. It's made a connection. Or for me, a lot of times I'll be reading, different books or whatever, or trying to think of an idea, and I've gathered all this information, and I'll be in the shower or driving down the road, and it'll hit me like, oh, that's it. I should do this. And then my mind just fires out all these ideas. So it's a little different in that it's a subconscious process. Now you're using something called extroverted sensing in essence to take in all this stuff around your environment, but your mind is putting it all together in the subconscious. So it's a little bit different than other types than that. As an intuitive, you see patterns and connections. Sensors tend to look at every detail and piece together an argument step by step. They have to turn everything over. Here's an example. My wife and I are in the process of buying a house. When we were looking at houses, she wanted to know every little specific about the door, about the ceiling, about the electricity, about the gas. And I wanted to know that stuff too, but not quite to the detail that she needed to look at everything. She would have to pore over the whole house, consider each of the facts, and put it all together. Whereas I could typically just walk into a house, pick up on some of the major points, and then come away with a hunch or an insight or an impression, and maybe that's the right word, of whether it was a good buy or not. So I got kind of frustrated when we had to spend forever analyzing the details because my mind quickly rushes to connections and patterns, as yours probably does too. It just can jump and see what a conclusion is quickly, and that can be kind of strange or interesting to other types. But it also gives you a lot of creativity because you're able to think outside the box and take disparate ideas and put them together in ways that people haven't thought of before. And that's just what creativity is, taking pre-existing ideas and putting them together in new and interesting ways. So this allows you to come up with some really interesting art and ideas and impressions for the future, which leads me to the next point. Your mind is bent on the future. Now, you might go back and look at the past, but it's mainly so that you can see how things have been going and you can interpret how they'll end up in the future. I have the hardest time just being in the present. That is a weakness we'll get to in another episode, but most INFJs have a really hard time being in the present. Now, they could think about the past, but what they like to do best is project into the future. So that might be, next week. It might be in a year. It might be in 10 years or the end of their life. I think that's a big reason why INFJs are so concerned with living a purposeful life, because they can so easily see the end and they have a vision for where they want to go. So this separates you from other types in that you're almost always or predominantly thinking about the future when not taking care of the necessities of daily life, which we sometimes neglect. As an intuitive, you enjoy theory. In fact, I've read that we INFJs are some of the most theoretical types. We like to go deep and we like to explore concepts, and we'll get around to the practical when we need to, but we just enjoy the theory side of it. I think that's why so many of us are interested in psychology, because we particularly are interested in people, but how the mind works and why. We want to understand why the world works as it does. My mother-in-law loves geology, and she loves to understand how the world came to be. A lot of INFJs I know enjoy studying the universe. When I was a little kid, I couldn't get enough herpetology, the study of reptiles and amphibians, or ichthyology, the study of fish. I think it makes us want to be subject area experts, and we just like to understand how everything works together so we can organize it and make sense. But we want to go deep, and we're not afraid to do that. In fact, one of our favorite things to do, even though we're introverts, is to talk about the topics that are interesting to us. And they tend to be complex, which can sometimes scare friends and family away. But we have a penchant for the complex because of the way our minds are wired. And ultimately, we are one of the rarest personality types. In fact, we are the rarest personality type. So far as you're not looking at the male-female breakdown, because you can get rarer. But actually, the male INFJ is the rarest personality type on the planet. But INFJs in general are the rarest. And this thought process is rare as well. It is the rarest. So there are 4 information gathering processes, according to myers-briggs personality theory, that are extroverted intuition, introverted intuition, extroverted sensing, and introverted sensing. Now, introverted intuition is the least common, comprising only 8% of the population, whereas compared to introverted sensing, which makes up 46% of the population. So if you think about it for a second, most types rely on details and putting them together piece by piece. So when they look at you and they're wondering, how in the world did you come up with that conclusion before you put all the details together? That could explain why you might feel so different than them at times, and why they have such a hard time understanding you, because they don't have the same mental process as you do. And furthermore, even if you compare intuitives to sensors make up a little over 70% of the population, and intuitives only around 30%. So you're still in the minority in that regard. So don't expect for other people to understand you, because quite frankly, they're going to have a hard time unless they really take the time to get to know you. But it really is a gift, this introverted intuition, because you can do some things that no other type can, and it really makes you an insightful person and a great counselor to others. So don't underestimate that gift. Hone it and put it to use. It'll bring you and others a lot of joy and benefit. I hope that this has helped you understand INFJ thought processes. Thanks for watching today's video. If you haven't yet done so, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future content. I'll be trying to upload videos on a weekly basis as much as possible. And if you haven't yet grabbed the free personality guide, my gift to you, make sure that you text the word INFJ to the number 444999 and claim that today. Thanks for watching.